Hello and welcome to a three-man. I'm not going to call it an emergency edition of the Warriors Plus Minus podcast, but maybe a big picture crisis edition. I don't know. I mean, they lost by 51 in Memphis, which isn't their worst loss in this calendar year, right? They lost by 52 in Boston.
Yeah,
It's also not the first time they were down by 50 in Memphis before.
that's all right. Yep.
That's true. What did they end up losing that game?
I
Five.
think it was like 40.
Yeah, it went down at the end. Unlike last night,
55 at one point. Though.
Yeah, unlike this one, it went down at the end. This one just stayed right at 50, 50, 50, 52.
They didn't win a quarter. They only lost the fourth like 35-34.
Oh, because Brandon Pajemski took over the game. That's the whole
I mean,
story
like
right
that should
there.
be probably storyline 9 for us today, but like it was actually a mildly encouraging offensive performance.
Yes, it was for him. And when they're down 50, you count on Brandon Pajemski to stabilize everything.
Hey, if he's hitting shots right now, that's a positive trend for him.
That was bad. That was bad last night. That was really, really bad.
It was hard. That was one of the more like they just didn't have any heart.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, you know, you lose by 50 to Boston, like you kind of get it. Like, you know, Boston's loaded.
Boston was unbelievable that night.
They're going to be champions.
Jaylen Brown.
That was also like day 7 of like a 10-day East trip, right?
Yeah.
Tired. They I think played one game in the last like 7 days.
Yeah.
And then they were billing to us of like, this is the new chapter of the Warriors. Dennis Schroeder is here. Reinforcements are here. Like you thought they could have lost that game, but you thought they were going to come out with some juice, right?
Yep. You know, I mean, they missed a couple shots. You could tell they wavered mentally, and man, Memphis got into them. Like we've said, they got into Steph. They got into every ball handler. They could not bring the ball up court. And it just, you know, it's a familiar story. The offensive weaponry wasn't there. Now, Schroeder's going to help. He had, you know, really bad night. It's adjustment. But like the stuff that they got to do to beat good teams, they did not do any of them in this game. And it's you got to say it. I mean, you look at it, Steph did not score a basket. Draymond did not score a basket. It's not like Draymond didn't play a lot of minutes. He played enough representative, at least before Kerr pulled everybody. He was minus 42. Steph was minus 41. This is not saying that means this is the way it's always going to be, but this is what happens when they're two aging great players turn in a dud. This is it. That's what it is. And man, there was no one else there either. Nothing. They had nothing.
Well, what's y'all's concern level about Steph Curry's and Draymond Green's play? And let you know, with Draymond, it's the fact that, you know, he had the calf thing that kind of like scared him out of the lineup for a little bit. And, you know, I really would rather ask about Steph because I think that's the one, like he has to, for them to compete, for this to make sense, for them to go all in, to potentially trade picks, to maybe go chase down a Jimmy Butler. Like he still has to be a top, we've talked about it earlier this season, but like what, a top 5 player in the league, a top 7 player in the league, guy who can legitimately, if given enough help around him, be the 1A on a title team. And this is like an extended run of like, you know, uneven play from him. Obviously last night was like, you know, as unproductive as he's ever been in an NBA game. But you have that mixed into this double knee tendonitis that has him in and out of the lineup at times, and lessening his minutes. Like, I don't know what's y'all's alarm bell right now on that front, because like he can't just be the 27th best player in the league. He's got to be a top 10 player.
I don't think he can be that in these conditions, to be honest with you. So I would have more alarm if he had the pieces around him. But I mean, part of me is like, what's he supposed to do the way they're guarding him? You got Ja Morant just saying, I'm face guarding you, period. And then you got Jaren Jackson at the rim. And they don't have anybody on the team who can punish that. So I do feel like they've got to get him going early. But he's also got to conserve his energy, right? Like you can see him saying, you guys go out. Look, it's 4-on-4 with space. Go handle that. Like you see, that's how he's starting games. He's not even bringing the ball up court. He's going to get trapped every time. So part of it is like, they got to figure out a way to get him shots early. It shouldn't be 5 shots in the first half. And that's always been true, but it's especially true now. Like Steph can't have 5 shots and a half. Even if he makes all 5 of them, the other team wins, right? The other team is happy about that. But at the same time, I don't know, TK, if you can't take advantage of 4-on-4, one of the guys is like out by the 3-point line or standing in the corner, literally being face guarded with the man back to the basket. I really don't know what you to do with that. Like,
well, this is, again, it's not their fault, but this is the Draymond Looney problem. Is when you do start those 2 guys, which Kerr did. I understand that you got Zach Edey. You don't want Draymond starting against Zach Edey. It didn't matter. Just Draymond got in foul trouble, was not good. None of it mattered. But like, the defense does not have to guard them. I know Draymond's been making shots, whatever. The defense still does not guard them. That's a problem. He's not going for 30. Wiggins was fine offensively, but he doesn't come to the ball. Like, he's not a guy like, oh, okay, Steph's in trouble, I'm going to the ball. They don't have people who go to the ball. Schrader was tentative. Schroeder was supposed to be that guy. We'll see. He was way off. You presume that's going to be better. That's why they got him. But they just don't have enough things. Like you said, they can't punish that. And that's why I think Kuminga almost has to be in the starting lineup. You can't just say, oh, we'll work it in the way of the game, and then we'll get him in that second unit. You're getting down 20-4, and you just need and Kuminga was bad last night too. I'm not saying it would have made.
But there's a reason Kuminga is bad. What are they doing with Jonathan Kuminga? Yet last week they're like, it's time. We've got to see. We've got to feature him. This and that. And then a week later they're like, let's pull the plug on that. Yeah, you're not going to get a good version of Jonathan Kuminga if you do this to Jonathan Kuminga repetitively.
Yeah, the commitment is not there. But it's also because he does stuff like last night. And I know it wasn't exactly a full run for him. But then you look, what would he have done last night? Turned the ball over 3 more times. But I think he's got to be.
Well, you're either going to give him. You're either going to give him the runway that last week you told him you were going to give him, or you told us, you told the world you were going to give him, or you're not.
I'm sure they told him. I mean, I agree. And maybe this is, a little push and pull here. Like, they're not so sure, then they are sure. Then they're not so sure, then they are sure.
But then they look at last night and blame him for that type of performance. And it's like, no, like, we know Jonathan Kuminga. He's going to be like completely out of it entering last night's game because he was told he was like a featured option.
He's got to start a majority of the games through February, I believe. I don't know if they'll do it. I think the Zach Edey thing was part of the equation last night. They just don't want Draymond doing that. And Draymond was not good. He was bad. He was bad. They all were bad.
They all were bad. Yeah, they all were bad.
He was really bad. Just seemed like he's psyched out by playing the big guys. I get it. This is tough for him. But if he can't do it, then they're not going to be good, because you can't have Draymond play 35 minutes of power forward. They're going to lose, because Kevon Looney plays center, or Trace Jackson Davis plays center, and they're not good enough in that lineup. So that is the conundrum here, is like Kuminga and Draymond play the same position. They do very different things. You kind of need both on the floor, but then you're putting Draymond at risk against the bigger centers. And then is Kuminga truly good enough to make that commitment? You're right. They don't know, and they need to know. They need to make the commitment. Let's see if he's good enough. And I'll just throw it out there. He might be good enough, we'll see, to just be better than Draymond at this point. If Draymond's going to roll out games like this, that's a physical thing. I get it. It's not, if he's at his best, he's better than Kuminga. Is he going to be better than Kuminga next year? Is he going to be better than Kuminga in 3 years? No way. I think that's part of this conversation. It's part of this internal debate. I'm not saying they're making that decision now. I'm saying it's part of it, though, because if Draymond can't play center, ... with this team, that position is the 4, and that becomes an open question.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they just have to figure out, like you. I don't know how they survive until February. Like, you just.
Well, they need some easier games. They do need some easier games. And
but even if they do, it's still very clear when they play the better teams. Like, this was the result. They lost, 8 of 10, 9 of 11. Ordinarily, I'd say the Warriors do this a couple times a year. It's not that big of a deal, but they legit don't have. They just can't score. Like this is not like a one-off. This is a prolonged stretch where not only they can't score, and they just give up the most comfortable threes in the league. I mean, the most comfortable drive, kick, easy. I mean, this ain't
Kings
even
might give
hard.
up comfortable threes. I've been watching too much Kings.
No,
They might give up, you know.
Kings plus minus.
close.
Kings plus
It's
minus.
close.
Kings plus minus.
Ugh.
It's that help defense. They're just committed to not to give up layups. They still give up layups, but they're committed to try to help on, send people at drivers, even when they don't need to do that. Even when the guy's kind of covered, they send help and that kicks it out, and they're late to the closeout on the three. Yes, it happens, and it's not luck. It's guys wide open, and Memphis has got a ton of guys who are wide open. I was thinking, like Sante Aldama, like he would be so perfect for the Warriors. He would be their starting center. It would be done deal. That's it. A lot of things would be opened. It's tough to get guys like that, right? It's tough they've had a hard time, but man, it just, you look at Memphis, they got a lot of things that the Warriors don't have right now, and it just was all there on the court. Bad night. Warriors can play better than that, but a lot of the formulas, a lot of the equations, the Warriors just don't have right now.
Marcus, where are you on like the Kuminga front as far as like this just yanking around that they're doing with him? That like this is not just like a robot. Like we know the way that it impacts like his best version of himself. And like I think that is a large reason why you just saw him kind of floating into the game last night and taking long twos, because it's a little bit of an exasperation. And you're talking about needing offense. Well, I understand that they went into last night saying, hey, let's solidify the backbone of the defense and go back to Draymond and Looney, but we know what type of offensive issues that creates. And if you want to maximize Jonathan Kuminga, you need to feature Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think this needs to be entrenched. You got 2 months to figure it out. Like this is and not starting Kuminga doesn't prevent this. It's not like, hey man, it's gonna be a struggle if we just ride with Kuminga. So we gotta bench him so we can have a good game. It's not like not doing it is actually working in a sense. So like, what's the difference if he comes out and he plays this game? Like, for instance, you start Looney and you don't start Draymond. Like, what's the difference? Perhaps you got a better start. Who knows? But the solution of taking him out of the start lineup and not featuring him hasn't produced a great solution. So you might as well just do it. Like,
yep.
You might as well just lean in. Like, you're not gaining anything by not doing it. Yeah,
it's the only way they get better. Now, here's the conundrum that, in addition, let's say they can trade Kuminga and like they get Jimmy Butler. Does that fit it? Does that fix them, Jimmy Butler? I mean, that's where they are right now. It's like, okay, we maximize his value and we trade him and Wiggins and you get Jimmy Butler. Is that enough?
Like, well, one of their issues with this Jimmy Butler trade is Wiggins needs to be in it, and that's one of their most positive storylines this season.
Yeah. So then, how are they better if they get like that's the problem? Like when they were 12-3, different whole conversation. Like they're there, one more player might do it. Tough guy at the end of games. Now, I don't want to change my mind just because of a 2 weeks, 3 week span, but it's a bad one. And is it worth it? Like, is that?
I didn't think he was worth it at 12-3. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's
giving up Wiggins. You give a lot of money. He's just as old
and
as
you're
the
giving
guys
up,
you got.
You're giving up Kuminga, and you probably have to extend him. Like,
and you got to pay him. Yeah, and he's 34, 35. Like he's 35, not young. Yeah. So.
I will say this: I think you are opening up a path to more realistic, like surprise playoff run. Like, right, if everything clicks, Jimmy Butler comes, he looks great. Him, Steph, and Draymond together just, power up at the right time this season. And like, it's a better theory than the current mix they have that could like surprise us come April and May. Like that is a little bit more likely with Jimmy Butler in there just because we know who he is. But it also creates a lot.
It's also more likely that he's hurt in the playoffs, and
I would go further. It's also a lot more likely that you really screw up your next 5 to 6 years.
Yes. That I do think that
Kuminga's the piece. Like either the piece that makes them good because he's good, or he's the piece that they trade And then once they trade, they're not, that's it. They're
Like,
using
that's
that.
it. Yeah, they burn it.
And you use it wisely. And the money's going to be a weird thing with him, wherever he is. Like, what do you pay him? And if the Warriors pay him and without shedding salary, they're back, into all the apron stuff that they're out of now. Or they trade him for something, and once they trade him again, right there, if it's Jimmy Butler, that's who they are. That's who they are. They're Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green.
You know what's funny? This is a funny part of this conversation where, they struck out this summer, right? They tried to go for Paul George. They tried to go for marketing. They didn't get it. Paul George has been very injury prone this season. That contract is not looking good in Philadelphia right now. And Lauri Markkanen's having a really bad season in Utah.
Awful.
Like, his defense.
I don't know why he signed that. I don't know why
block numbers are some of the worst out there. Like, he's having a really disappointing season. And I'm not saying, like, Lauri Markkanen, I do think fits with the Warriors. And, like, I'm not trying to say they shouldn't have gone after him or whatever, but I know that the Warriors are not in a great spot right now, but like these paths to other things can also lead to some bad things too.
Like, I mean, the only thing, you're right. That's if you watch Utah, it feels like Lauri is like, why did I do not want to be here? Like,
why did he sign that?
Well, he decided to, because he signed his way to the Warriors.
No question.
Now I don't get the marketing thought process.
He's playing like it. He's playing like he don't get it either. TK.
Like he didn't know this was coming. Like he didn't know that. Like, it's happening. This is happening. Sign. Like, you realize that this is going to be a weird situation for you, and they're Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, but the thing I was gonna say is the part, like, they're still face guard. I don't know another team in this league that don't have players who would absolutely light up if you're like, what? 4-on-4? Malik Monk would destroy any team that.
How many guys on Dallas? How many guys on Dallas?
It's mind-boggling. Ja Morant is literally at half court face guarding Steph, and these dudes are dribble handoff in like off. Yeah. It's insane.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it right there. How much of it is just like they've got to lean harder into this idea that they just got to change who they are offensively, and it needs to be more like Kuminga featured inverted pick and rolls, and Schroeder running like more simple sets, and like they know this is a problem, right?
Or Steph high pick and roll, like simple as that, like high, like get back to that. But yeah, it's obviously a player thing, right? It's obviously a coaching thing, but when they looked at this roster, this is a Mike Dunleavy thing too. How do you not have any of these guys? How do you not have? This is the entire league. The entire league is full of dudes who go ISO. Right?
Yeah, Schroeder. Yes, yeah. I mean, it was Melton. I mean, again, you just don't want just one of them, but it was Melton.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the entire league has players on their team who would be all-stars if they could get this, but they can't get it. Like, nobody else is getting this where, like, just go 4 or whatever. Like, they just it's
Marcus,
you
know this, though. You know this, especially the last few years. They've gone into the offseason being like, well, should we get that guy? He doesn't really fit Steve. He doesn't really fit Steve.
Absolutely, yeah.
He doesn't fit Steve. Like, and again, that's.
Well, Schroeder's the one who doesn't, right? That they did do that. But and, I'll just, Steph needs more. He needs more. He's still Steph. He still can be incredible. He needs more than he's getting. I think in the past, some of this, he'd just blow through it. He just would have been, you know what? You're going to face guard me. I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to run around, double pass. I'm in the corner. I'm open for a 3.
I think he's just got to do that though. Yeah. Like, he's got to get back to, look, I'm getting these shots up because, like, nobody else even wants to shoot.
Yeah, no question. Nobody wants the ball. Nobody wants to dribble. Like, and Schroeder was having trouble dribbling. Again, a weird adjustment. Memphis is tough. I'm not, make every judgment.
I do think Schroeder's really going to help.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's one guy you can say will help, but other people.
I mean, he even got to the rim. It was like refreshing to see a guy start at the top and get to the rim. I was like, okay, he missed that one, but you'll see that, especially against teams that don't have a mountain back there. But So you could see it. He wasn't,
They need
wasn't on
more,
his
but
A
they
game.
do need more than that. They need Kuminga. I mean, Wiggins, again, he shot the ball well, but he never runs to the ball. Like, you never see him go try to get the ball. It's got to be action, and then he comes off, and then he gets the ball. It's just the way that is. It's why it works so well with the Kerr offense in previous years. It just hasn't happened for him lately against pressure defenses. But this is the roster they got. Again, I think, is there another name other than Jimmy Butler that you guys can see? Like,
I don't
okay,
even like Vucevic, but I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to go get Vucevic.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
I mean, defensively, that dude is going to be a problem.
Yes.
But he is a bucket, and he can stretch the floor.
But that's Wiggins, right?
Though.
It's Wiggins, or I guess it's Schroeder plus Kuminga. Like, I don't know how they get to that number. That's the problem. These guys making those numbers, it's hard for them to get to them. And so it's basically Wiggins. So you go Wiggins for Vucevic.
I would not do Wiggins for Vucevic. No, the Wiggins is like, he's their second or maybe third.
I'm just not giving up. I'm not giving up Wiggins, man. Like,
yeah. So then it's going to be hard to get anybody making 30, right? It's just going to be.
I wouldn't say you don't give him up, but
I'm just saying, like,
you got to
get somebody who's really good.
Like, marketing. Yeah, you got to get marketing, and you got to get somebody like that. Vucevic is kind of below that line. There just aren't. Who are those other guys? Like, there just aren't. Brook Lopez. I mean, Milwaukee's not doing that now. I just don't know where you possibly find this player who's going to fix them. It's tough. And then you probably have to give up Wiggins if it's making over 30.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think we talked about some.
Vooch is only at 21.
I thought he was more than that.
No, 21.
Okay. Well, then it's Kuminga. That's
more doable.
What that is. Yeah.
Yeah. But also with Vucevic, like you mentioned, like you'd be leaning heavy into offense, and that is a personnel way to do that, like changing your personnel to do that. But also, is it just time to change the rotation patterns and the featuring of who you're playing and how you're playing to go more offense than defense? Because that is this existential issue they seem to be having in season right now, where it's clearly last night, right? Like Steve is just. We need to be this defensive backbone team that's a top 5 defense in the league, and that's why we're going to start this way. That's why we're going to minimize Kuminga again, and that's fine. But if you're not playing like a top 3 defense, you're pretty much guaranteeing you're going to be bottom 10 offense.
It's a bit of a false premise anyway, because what does the top defense is not giving up 89 points. Like, if you're an elite defense, you're still giving up 105. And if you can't score 100, it doesn't matter. Like, they can't score 100. So
beyond just maybe trading for a guy like Vucevic, should you just lean heavier into offense?
I'll say it out. I mean, MT GP2, he's borderline unplayable.
What? He hit a 3.
Yeah, one.
He's now 5.
He's now 5 for 31 from 3.
Get a quarter 3. We're not doing this.
He is glitching. He is glitching on offense. It is really hard to watch.
3.
Yeah,
and you know who he's better than on offense?
Brandon.
He's been better.
Yes, that's a problem when you've got other people who can compare that to. It's tough because you talk about 4-on-4. Well, when GP2's in the game, it's not 4-on-4. It's 3-on-4 because they're not guarding him. They're just not guarding him.
I mean, it's low volume, but he was 36% last year. He was 44%. Well, I guess that was only in 7.
Also, I don't think he should be shooting these threes.
He shouldn't. But then you have a problem because then.
But also, he's one of the better finishers inside. Even he's not that great. Like, even he's missing layups. But the dunker spot stuff, the get up quick and he'll do those things. But when he's not doing that, it's just
hard to do that when they're not guarding you, because then they just zone it out, right? They have a zone out, and then they can just keep.
I don't know, man. I feel like maybe it's something they need to teach these dudes who get these wide open threes.
Take 2 dribbles.
There's other things you can do.
They don't do that. These guys don't do that.
They don't do that.
They get the ball, they look at it,
and see a wide open lane, and they decide to drive it. It's possible. You don't have to not do that, but
that's not what these guys do.
That's not what
it's just. Listen, GP2, incredible defensive player. I've said this over and over again. When he's going well, he means so much. But you can't. You talk about the system. You talk about the focus. That's a guy who, when they put him out there, they cannot score because he's not being defended. And this is already a team that is having a hard time when it's 5-on-5, when it's 4-on-5. And by the way, he was giving up buckets on their side. Like you can't just say you must not.
Nah,
give up buckets, but he was giving
no,
up
but
buckets.
he was. They were. He wasn't. This wasn't like
No.
lock him down. When he's doing that, it's almost like the opposite of Buddy. Like when Buddy's hitting shots, like it doesn't matter that he's giving up. You know, drive-bys on the other end. When GP2 is on his game defensively, it doesn't matter. He's generating possession.
Well, because you're getting loose balls, right?
Yeah, you're getting like
open court.
But when he's not on his game, then it's a massive problem. And the other problem, because whoever's guarding him is running towards 30.
Yes, and they don't care, and they're not worried about him getting the ball. And as I've said, like with him and with Podziemski and with Draymond and with Looney, they got too many guys who you can stash an offensive player on and not worry about defending.
But Slater, who is this offensive lineup? Who is the lineup? I mean, we're talking about Buddy Hield, right? That's it.
No,
Kuminga,
I mean that's an option, but I could. How about Steph, Schroeder, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond? You're small. You know, you're putting too much on Draymond probably, but
I feel like when Draymond gets tired, then you can put Looney there. When Looney gets tired, you can put Kyle Anderson there, right? Like I feel like,
but only one at a time, right?
One at a time. Yeah.
And
Kuminga,
that means
when engaged and featured is like a thirsty scorer.
He's their second best scorer, absolutely.
Is probably their second best scorer, and like at this point, you either you just don't believe in him and you minimize him. As last night, that was that, and he's going to kind of play accordingly in a lot of ways, because he's a young player that I think gets discouraged when in year 4 he's being, minimized again. Or you feature him, you invigorate him, and you live with the growing pains and at times inefficient nights. And you suddenly have, I think, a better wing scorer than your other options on the team. And you add Schroeder into that lineup, and you're probably, overall definitely going to be worse defensively than you want to be. But I think you have more scoring
legitimately.
With Steph, Schroeder, and Kuminga on the floor at the same time. Like for
Later,
long
the point you're making today is a good one. That by doing this, the yo-yoing Kuminga, you're almost guaranteeing that it won't be a great outcome. You're affecting his mentality. So once his mentality is affected, then he's going to do stuff like this.
And then
that point is a good point.
And then you act like, if he's going to play like this, then he shouldn't be featured. But it's like, I don't know, if you keep doing it to him, we are in year 4. Like that's
contract. Contract. Right? I mean,
contract year. Yeah. I mean, like, what do you expect of him at this point?
The difficult part is there is not a better option.
Well, my thing is there
isn't.
This week feels particularly egregious to me on this front because you have your star power forward, franchise legend, and the head coach coming out and saying, like, it's time, Jonathan Kuminga, like, we're about to see. And then you just pull the rug again 5 days later.
And was he that bad against Dallas?
No.
Yeah, I don't like it feels like, okay, we can't do that again. I go, really? I mean, I don't think Kuminga was great defensively, but I don't think that was on Kuminga. That was on Luka Doncic just destroying you, and that is going to happen sometimes. And then it's like, okay, we're committed to Jonathan. Oh, and that Dallas start means that we can't start him anymore. It is mixed messaging times 10, and it's happened his whole career. And like they do have to just make a decision on him. They absolutely have to just make a decision on him. Going back and forth is getting nothing done. It really is achieving nothing. And then you're going to get to
negative.
The summer.
It's getting negative.
Yeah.
Done,
and then you get to the summer, and then you're going to have to do something under the gun. Like, something you might not want to do because he's going to get some offer, or he's going to just say, I want out, or something where your hand is forced as opposed to you making a decision. On that, I completely agree. And like, let's see it. Let's see what he and Schrader together are out there together. Let's see what that looks like. They're going to score a little bit more than GP2 and Brandon Podziemski. Like, that is true. And either it mucks it up or it looks good or whatever. I do want to see that. And guys who can finish at the rim, who can punish when they double team, triple team Steph. Like, I think Steph wants to see that. And, like a little more open court for him. Maybe they don't do that. But it is the mental part of it, which I hadn't thought 100%, but Slater, it's a great point. You are making it happen. You're making the negative stuff happen instead of allowing the positive things to happen.
And the reality is, to me, is like you just can't. I mean, I feel like we've said this for years, or at least I've said it for years. No matter how you slice it, the best version of Steph isn't as gravity still. So in the end, you still got to get this dude 20 shots, right? And Kuminga helps him get there on the court. It makes it easier for him. If Steph takes 12 shots, like you're probably gonna lose no matter how well the other teams play, the other players play. So in the end, you still got to get your best player going. I'm not going yet, TK, with put the ball in Steph's hands, but I'm almost.
Come on now.
there.
Gotta play the hits. Gotta play the hits.
I gotta play it. I don't know. I just think it might kill
that'll
him.
wear. That'll wear.
Yeah,
it
might kill him at this point. Like,
no, Jalen Wells was up in him. I mean, guys
that's
were up in him.
I mean, but that's the wild part. I was at the NBA Cup talking to people about just the opposing defense is blatant, just like, yeah, we don't even care about these other guys.
Yep.
Like that should be the most infuriating thing if you're an NBA player. Like, but that's the thing about Kuminga. At least when he gets 10 free throws last night, at least Kuminga is gonna be like, hold on, I'm getting to the line.
Yep.
Get me a screen so I can get on that Santi Aldama dude. I'm going or get me something. To me, that's just why they need more guys like that. I feel like Wiggins is one of those guys. He just doesn't.
I think Wiggins is.
He could take advantage of it, but he's not like,
I think Wiggins is entering a more comfortable stage of his career where it's like, I don't think he really like wants to be the feature guy. He kind of wants to be this like high level 3-and-D guy, and it kind of makes sense. He's shooting the three well. He's expending a lot of energy defensively. He can get a bucket occasionally, but it's like he shouldn't be featured as a number 2 player for a winning team.
He also should be like, hey, we're down. We're getting cooked here. I need to go. Hey, Steph, give me the ball. I can take this dude. I got space.
But that's where I think the benefit of Jonathan Kuminga's mindset when featured can help. Because he will be like, come on, let's do some screen and roll. Let's do this. And Wiggins will be like, yeah, fine. I'm going to stay on the wing and I'll hit the open three if you give it to me.
I mean, and also Wiggins at the rim has been a disaster for 2-3 years now. I don't know what's happened to him. He gets within 3 feet and the ball cannot go in the basket. And I think he's now shying away from that because he's been so bad. Remember 2022, they call a play, they cross screen, and there's Wiggins at the rim, and he turns jump hook, it's in. That is not going in for 3 years now. And I think that affects him.
I think he's settling into who he's going to be in this like a little bit like late prime stage, though, which is like I like it, but I also think you're overdoing it if you think suddenly he's going to like we're beyond the point where he's going to elevate, into the number 2. Like what he still does defensively, the way he is engaged on a nightly basis defensively, while also giving you some supplementary scoring, mostly just as like a pretty knockdown shooter. What is he from 3 right now?
Over 40. It's over 40.
Yeah, I mean he's doing everything you need him to do.
Well, he's the guy, like when he gets an open 3, he makes it. Like that is valuable to the Warriors.
He's 45% from 3 right now.
Yep, that is
he's
really
doing what you need.
He's just he's not going to do more. He's just not going to do more. It just doesn't feel like it's in him. That is problematic when they do need someone to do that. But we're saying Kuminga is, Podziemski's not doing it. GP2 is not doing it. Moody, when he's healthy, is not doing it. Buddy Hield is not doing. He's not doing that stuff. Just go put your head down and get to the rim.
Andrew Wiggins is making $26 million this year. It's very worth it.
Yeah, well, he's fine.
He's the second highest paid player on the team.
Yeah, he's been second or third best player on the team, most consistent, like giving you really good perimeter defense and hitting 45% of his threes. Like,
he's been fine.
I don't have no issues with Wiggs. I wouldn't even.
The problem is you do need more aggressive offensive people around him because he's not that guy.
And I just
have one in Jonathan.
Yeah, I think you accept it. You trade for a guy like Schroeder. You elevate a guy like Kuminga. Maybe you look for other trades. Maybe he's in those trades depending on who you're getting. But I just think we're past the point where it's like, Wiggins has got to elevate the game. Like, no, I would actually just tell Andrew Wiggins, like, great job. Continue to do what you're doing. We need to figure some stuff out elsewhere. That's what
I don't know. Give him more than 11 shots. Say don't you want 5 more shots, Wiggs?
Well, I mean, Tim made the point. Like, he's not like. It's not like he is getting to the rim and finishing through contact, and like he just needs to do more of that. Like he's kind of settled into what he is offensively.
I agree, and that's the need is for someone who does want the ball.
He was 11 for 20 against the Mavs, man. Like, get Wiggins.
Everybody wasn't everybody 11 for 20 against the Mavs.
Not Buddy Hield.
I think I was
20
11 for 20.
11.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Buddy's buddy. Like, you know, like he was great at the beginning of the season, made you think, oh wow, there's something here. He's just who he is. He's up and he's down. He's not going to give you anything on defense. He'll fight, but usually will lose.
Let me ask y'all, do you think they should start Buddy Hield for the shooting and like keep Schroeder as like the super six man who gets a ton of minutes, or do you just like them going night one, Dennis Schroeder starting two guard?
Nah, I think they just it's too reliant on threes, and they're just not that good. You know, they got guys who make threes in the very particular spots, but they take them like it's automatic. And no, I like having the counterplay. Like Draymond said, they need somebody to do something different than what they have, and that's Dennis. If you've got Wiggs shooting three, Steph shooting three, Draymond shooting three, like who's getting to the rim? So I like that. Let Buddy come in. I'd rather Buddy come in shooting threes than Buddy starting and nobody at all is concerned with get to the rim except the one guy who's being face guarded with the help waiting to jump on him. And
it guarantees a lot of Schroeder Curry minutes. I think that's like the main reason. Like they just guarantees him. He's going to start with them. He's going to close halves with them, and then he's going to play the middle. You know, when Curry's out. When I don't love this Curry new rotation. By the way, I don't think it's good for Curry.
Do you think he does?
I think he's accepted it. I don't think he likes it. He likes playing long stints. He doesn't like coming in and out, like always thinking, oh, wait a minute, now I'm coming out. I get why they're doing it.
I think he also likes starting it in the quarters.
Yes, well, that's true. But
the answer is playing 48. Like, what are you doing?
At 36 years old. That's what I just don't. I think he's better longer stints, play the 9 minutes, stints, and not the 6 minute stints. But I get why they're doing it. They're going to have to test it out. But now they got Schroeder, who you can, maybe you can count on, holding up those non-Curry minutes for 6 minutes, 7 minutes at a time. I'm so used to those Curry long, the rotation where he plays 9 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. And I just feel like this might be part of it. And again, I get why they're doing it. Just another thing that maybe you got to adjust and get it back to that way, and then get Kuminga in there. Again, are all these things going to fix everything that we're seeing? No, they just got to be better.
That's why I think you might as well just keep the rotation, like Steph's minutes. It's like, like, what are you doing, really? Normally I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Put the ball in Steph's hands, quit playing, like cut all this out. But you're just asking. I mean, if you watch other games around this league, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not guarded like this. Like nobody is because they just know if you guard Shai like this, Jalen Williams is gonna light you up, right? Like Chet, when he's healthy, will destroy you.
Isaiah Joe, baby,
yeah, Isaiah Joe. Like you just know it. If anybody on Houston, you guard like this. They got
also like Shai's dribbling the ball up the court and getting a screen, and like the offense is just a lot different.
Like you say, Luka. I mean, Luka doesn't exactly get guarded like this, but he does sometimes. But then he's got Klay, PJ Washington, Kyrie. Like you get punished, like the Warriors got punished.
Yeah, you get punished. Absolutely.
If you do that, Luka does get some of that. He does.
No, yeah. So like other players get doubled, right? You just can't. Well, first off, Luka's just so good.
Yeah.
You can't afford to disregard whatever else is happening on the court with Luka. Like you have to still be aware. You got to be ready to help. You got to see man and ball. Like nobody's being guarded where it's like, I don't care what else is happening. Yeah. I'm fine. With Luka, you got to be ready because he's going to zip a pass and you're going to have to go. Like, you got another guy attacking. It's Kyrie. You can't just tap out of the defense when you guard Luka. Like to be 36 years doing this. Part of me is like, yeah, you got to save you, because if they somehow figure this out, you get to the playoffs. If Steph is cooked, it didn't matter anyway, right? Like it doesn't matter anyway. Unless you get another
MT,
one.
You're the Curry biography. What did Davidson do when this happened? That's like it feels like a college stuff. So what did Davidson do when Steph was getting
Everybody on the team set screens for Steph.
Yeah.
Everybody on the team set screens. Like that was a big part of it. But remember when Jason Richards left, he became like the point guard. So then he was like on some, I'm gonna pass, I'm gonna show these dudes I can do it. Because remember when he came, like, I'm a true point guard. That was the deal.
Oh yeah.
But also I just don't think like he was younger, he was more spry. That's the other thing. It takes a lot for him to get around the corner. Like some of these, like you see him take, I can tell when he's tired, he's like, I'm not even trying to get to the basket. Or there's a 7-footer there. What are we doing? Just go ahead and hit my move and get to the step back. So all that other stuff is in play. Yeah. Absolutely. And to me, that's one of the things they can do is if you're gonna sub Steph out at what about the 8-minute mark, 7-minute mark,
7.5, like that.
Just be like Steph, 7 minutes. Just go at whoever. High pick and roll, go match up. Edie's on the court, you're going at Edie. Like you're going at him for 7 minutes. We're not doing this off ball pick and roll. Like pick somebody and cook them and force the defense to say, oh man, Steph is on tonight. And now you open up stuff for everybody else. But right now, the way they're playing, where it's like Steph off the ball, dribble, it's not opening any new. It's forcing them to beat their man one-on-one in space, and they can't do it. So it's like, all right, you got 7 minutes and you know Steph is coming out. There's no way he should have 2 shots. It should be like 9. Like Luka. It should be like Luka was at Chase Center a few days ago. Like, oh man, this dude is 9 for 9 to start. Like he was getting them up. To me, that's how it's got to be. Instead of it being, other players trying to get it up.
All right, you want me to give y'all a slight pivot to one slightly optimistic section of the podcast, slightly positive?
Go for it, Slater. Oklahoma State looking good? Is that positive?
No, hell.
But the Oklahoma State product is looking.
So the Thunder, Grizzlies, Rockets, and Mavs to me have kind of separated themselves in the West. We'll see. It's still very early in the season, but that feels like that's going to be the top 4 seeds. But 5 through 12 right now is only separated by 3 games. Warriors are sitting at 10th, but they're 1 out of 5th, and you just like if we were doing deep dives on every team in the conference beyond those top 4 right now, you could go like deeply into their flaws, right? Like the Clippers are sitting at 5 right now. I'm not sure I believe in their general roster to win like at a level that the Warriors can't necessarily catch if they get it together a bit. The Nuggets are sitting there at 6 right now. Like every Mike Malone press conference I've been in is about like a just defensive crisis that they're having. They had Anthony Simons hit a game-winning easy layup on them last night.
That was wild, by the way.
Yeah. The Lakers are 7 right now. I mean, they're having like very similar issues to the Warriors where, I actually was in a LeBron like round table yesterday just talking about this like tired moment of his career where he's about to turn 40 this month and like he had to take a week off basically to like regenerate himself a little bit, and they're coming in on Christmas, which will be interesting, but like they're deeply flawed. The Timberwolves, who the Warriors are playing on Saturday night, just got blown out by 30 by
Cat, baby.
They traded.
Hey, Cat came to town. TK is
Yeah, go
remember me. Remember me.
Yeah, go read any post-game stories or quotes from them. Like that's not a terrific situation currently. The Suns are sitting in 9th. They cannot win a game without Kevin Durant. I mean, what are they with KD without KD?
2-9, 2-10, something like that.
That's better than I thought. They have a negative point differential. The Warriors actually have a +2 point differential. It's one of the better teams.
Even after losing by 51.
Yeah, they do. The Spurs are 11th. Wemby had a showing, but like, are we believing in them? Like, over the course of the season, we'll see. But they're sitting there at 14 and 13, and the Kings in 12th actually have a great point differential. They're +2.5, but they're 3 and 9 in games decided by 5 or less. And I've been around them; like they're really kind of in a free fall right now. So that would be my that would be my level of positivity for what's going on with the Warriors. Is that pretty much the 7 other teams in their bunch in the standings also are in a crisis.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Houston worked its way back, by the way.
Yeah.
I
would say Grizzlies, Mavericks, and definitely Thunder obviously have like they're almost, I don't want to say unreachable, but kind of.
Thunder's the class.
Thunder's, yeah, for sure unreachable. And Mavericks are in a different level, and Grizzlies, hard to say the Grizzlies are not on a different level than the Warriors after.
No, it's all right. I mean, I hear this from people like, oh, they're done, they're terrible. Like, well, yeah, that's not been good. It's fair to say the standard that they've set is not being met this season, certainly the last 11, 12 games. But look at the rest of everyone else, except for those teams that we've spotlighted. I don't think the Warriors are looking like a championship level team, but they are looking like a team in that group. The 12-3 start got them in that group. They can do it again, theoretically, but you got to get out of this morass. Like that's what we're saying when they're 12-3, right? Like get out of that this other category. Now they've lost their way into it, but can you win your way back out of it? A bunch of those teams are going to be 500 teams or just barely above 500. Like the teams you mentioned, I don't know how many are going to be above 500 playing everybody else, right? There's going to be losses among all these teams. Can the Warriors get to, like, what do we say? 48? Like we said 48. I think, it's still doable. That's probably the 5-6 seed. Get out of the play-in. It's all there. It doesn't look like really likely just given the last few weeks, but it's the last few weeks. It's a few weeks. You can figure a way out of this. And if they play well over the next few weeks into the All-Star break, they could be better than all those teams, or only got to be better than one of those teams, right? To get
34-22, the rest of the season gets you to 48-34. Can they go 34-22? 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, that seems realistic. Now, man.
Yeah, I mean,
34.
it's going to take an 8-2 run. It's going to take something like that. And I don't know how the schedule shapes up. I imagine there's some easier games coming up because they have played some hard games.
I'll tell you right now, their strength of schedule remaining is pretty soft. Actually, it's I'm looking eighth best in the league or worse, whatever you want to say, but eighth most favorable.
They got they've got to have Portland coming up a few times. Utah and like those games,
the Wizards,
Charlotte. They haven't had that stretch. Granted, they don't look great. They're going to lose some of those if they're playing like this. But there is it always seems better when you won 3 in a row. And it always seems worse when you've lost 3 in a row. That's just the way it is. Understanding. That's the way.
It feels like disaster when you've lost 9-11.
The worst. But that's what 12-3 meant. Is they could
no question.
Yeah, they could go through this.
Think about this. They're 9 and they've lost 9 of their last 11. They're still 2 games above 500. Like
exactly.
That's 12.
Who's almost the exact opposite Milwaukee Bucks. Like they started 2-9 and are now 15 and 11. It's like it's weird how it's exactly the opposite. Yet they're kind of in the same space, other than Milwaukee's in the East. So no matter what, you're better off if you're in the East. But like this stuff you can get out of it. You can get out of it. You have to. There is urgency. There, as Steph said, urgency, not panic. But they're related, those two words. But you can get out of it. You got to just win a couple, and then you're breathing again. Schroeder is their answer for now. As we've noted, like this grand trade at the end of the rainbow, I don't know that it's there, and I don't know how much it helps.
You just gotta, TK, don't you feel like they just gotta not be the team that falls off completely?
Yeah,
because somebody will, right?
Oh, I mean,
that's the team that sells his parts.
Listen, there's injuries that are going to happen across the league. And, the teams that Slater just rattle off have some very susceptible injury players. And like this is the Warriors got to gut through it. They just got to gut through it. And you know what they got to do? I started this by saying Steph and Draymond. Steph and Draymond got to lead this. They got to. Like they're the guys. They're the dudes. They've done it before. It's been shaky this season. At times good, at times bad. It's got to be those two. If it's not those two, then they're not going to do it. I mean, we can talk about Kuminga. We can talk about Pajemski. We can talk about whoever else we talk about. It's got to be those two. And if they throw in a bad game, they're going to lose. If they play well, they have every chance to win. It keeps going back to them. I don't know how much longer we're going to say that, but I think we can still say that for this season.
The schedule for them does kind of turn in January. I'm looking. Here's some of the teams they play in January. Sixers, 2 Kings games, Heat, Pistons, Pacers, Raptors, they got Wizards at home, Bulls, Utah at home, Lakers. Like They have to have a really positive January.
Yeah. And I think it's it's still there for them. They do have to play better than they're playing, but they have run into just teams that they don't match up well with. Like when you're struggling offensively, you don't go to Memphis and think, oh, this is fine, no problem. Like that length and that speed and that team is a lot for them. And we'll see how
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, I mean, they beat them in one of those games at Chase, so we'll see. And they're not doing well. Minnesota is not playing real well, but I do hear this from people. It's all over. It's done, and not just on Twitter. I do hear it from people who I discuss these things professionally with. It's like you just can't throw out everything based on 3 weeks. You can't. You have to be better. You have to understand that there's fundamental problems here, but a lot of teams have fundamental problems. And then if you get through this and you get to 47, 48 wins, if you do, then who's going to want to play Steph Curry if he's playing well in the playoffs? That's what this is all about. The whole thing is built on that, and they still got to build on it.
And also, if your opinion is they're not going to win a title this year, I agree.
Yeah,
they're not. I don't think they're winning.
And
I don't think any of us are saying that they are.
And the other thing,
anybody there saying they are.
And there's the other thing is, and I don't know, there was a path to get a team that could win the championship. Oh my God, trade everybody. Trading everybody would not have put them on a path to win a championship. This is their best team they have that they could almost possibly have, depending on whatever trades they could have made at some point. And you still wouldn't have been championship level. You're not going to be as good as Oklahoma City. You're not going to be as good as Boston. You're just not. Sometimes that happens. Then you got to do the best you can. And
you need to take a step forward this year, right?
You
need to make the playoffs.
You need to make it.
You
got to make a call on Jonathan Kuminga. Like those are the two big things, and that is still TBD, as Slater has.
I mean, to me, the key thing is if all that the early season chemistry was real. Like, can they hold it together now? Like that's what we'll see. If it's not, then it don't have a chance. To me, their best hope was always to just stay alive until February and hope something positive happens.
Are we going to see D'Anthony Melton get some MVP votes? Because clearly that was the entire ruination of the season. One guy, D'Anthony Melton. Jesus. Didn't know.
You pull out the wrong Jenga piece, TK.
Yeah.
You pull out the wrong,
pull
out the wrong Jenga piece, it all falls down. You know what's crazy is some of these teams could really help each other. These the Warriors and Kings almost could they could switch some parts and both be better.
Well, let's go. Let's go. What's the part? Keegan Murray to the Warriors
right now. Yeah. Keegan Murray to the a gently used Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles? No.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
What would the Warriors get for Malik Monk?
Buddy Hield.
I mean,
Hield and Pajemski.
Kuminga could help the Kings.
Kuminga could help the Kings, man.
Yeah,
I think Kuminga could help the Kings.
I'd want Keegan Murray if I'm trading Kuminga. Would they do Kuminga for Murray?
Would the Kings? No. The Kings are
you have to be Kuminga and something else.
Yeah. I'd want Keegan Murray.
Keegan Murray's also one more year from the big extension.
Yeah. That's who I'd want.
It's also a top 4 pick.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if I'm moving Kuminga to the Kings, I want Keegan Murray. That's who I'd want.
And the Kings are going click.
I'm not doing Kuminga for Malik Monk. I'm not doing that. But
you wouldn't do Kuminga for Malik Monk?
You wouldn't do it? I would not. I like Monk. I think he's an interesting scorer in a lot of different ways, but I think Kuminga is your last piece. He's your last piece. He's your last thing that you
out of all the pieces you had. This is your down.
They don't have anything, and I'm going to be very careful about how I deploy that.
I don't know. I got to tell you, I wouldn't be if I was an opposing team. I'd want one of those Warriors 2029 first rounders.
Oh yeah, I mean that too. You got to be careful about that too. Yeah, you got to be careful about
interesting looking assets.
And plus, I didn't realize they traded 30 in the Jordan Poole stuff. So
top 20 protected. So it's pretty.
But still, you can't trade it. You can't trade it. So,
no, you could trade the other side of the protection, which is the more appealing side of the protection.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean they're first to give. Now, will they find somebody and execute for?
The more losses they get, the less likely they are to do it. I just don't, you know.
No
I
question.
Yeah, I don't know.
No question.
Although the person I talked to last week maybe said otherwise. He's like, you know what? They keep losing. I'm going to want to do something. But it just makes it less worthwhile to do something where you're giving up the future when your present is looking bad. Like, they're just not as enticing to do that if you're looking at it.
You're not getting
without
a return.
You
You're not
know,
getting
I
a
mean,
return.
if you give up everything, Jimmy Butler, to be the AC, that's probably not what you want to do. That's probably not what you want to do.
That would be wild. I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. That
And you'd be giving up Wiggins, like, you know,
giving
like,
up Wiggins, you're giving up Kuminga,
you're giving up a pick,
give him a pick, yeah.
and you're probably investing a lot of money
mean,
in the Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
in the
then
future.
you sign him to extension, and then you're basically saying, like,
This is
hey, after 2 years, we're done here, buddy. Like,
yes,
we'll holla because that's it. Unless you get like Jaime Jaquez or something in there, like.
Then you start to hear. I start to hear that one, but I don't think you will.
I don't know why they would do that. Yeah.
Y'all getting Jaime Jaquez and Keegan Murray. I don't know how you're doing it. But
No, you're not doing it. I'm just saying that's what it would take to make sense for me. Like, all right, you throw it in. Otherwise, that's
why don't you go get Tyrese Maxey?
Yeah,
Come on, let's
Cade,
name a few
get
other,
Cade. I'm sure get Cade Cunningham. Get him too.
Yeah,
get
there
him
you
all.
go.
Detroit got a fire seller. They ready. Detroit's right there in the mix, man. They one player away. They one Buddy Hield away.
One Buddy Hield away.
They just got to get to the playoffs.
Okay, this is degenerating here. So
kind of like the Warriors offense. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
All right. We will talk to y'all sometime over the weekend into next week.
Yep.